Okay, so let's do an update. Uh, what a crazy few weeks that I've had, and quite frankly, the worst possible. I mean, when is a good time to have a bunch of bad shit happen to you? But um, a few weeks ago, now my mother passed away, and I knew that she had been sick for a long time, and a little bit of relief came, when I heard that she had passed. She had cancer, and she'd been kind of fighting it for the last, I would say, 10 years, a little bit more maybe. And she was a strong woman. She did what she wanted to do up until almost a few weeks before she passed. So she really lived, with this disease and didn't let it stop her. She said she never felt sick. She did chemo, the whole thing. Um, so I kept a pretty diligent eye on what was going on over there, and with everything that had been happening here with the the elections, um, what was going on with immigration, as is, if you can't tell, I'm not, naturally born here, so I've got a visa that lets me stay. So that visa was I updated that visa right back in 2023, and the immigration just was slow. Like I expected a few months. The thing is normally, what, 3 months before your visa expires, you put your paperwork back in, and you get your updated visa. So I did that. I paid my money, and at this point where I sit today in front of you, I could become a citizen, except I've paid to be a permanent resident. And the green card just, it never came. And I got an update to say that they had extended the green card permanent residents, people like me who are waiting in the queue to have their new visa issued to them. And that was going to be extended for 2 years. So for those of us who are counting the days, it's 2025 now, and February was the day that um, that it would have expired, except there was a mandate that pushed it out again. So, not that I'm illegally here, because I'm not. I'm covered by the law, but the problem that I had with my family being sick back home is that when the election cycle came around and the craziness started happening with people being deported, the only proof that I would have coming back from Australia to here would have been a mandate that hopefully, one, the Australian government would have recognised to let me on the plane, and two, the American government at the airport would have realised when I got there, because the only ID that I've got is an expired green card. Okay, and I did have, up until February of this year, a piece of paper that said, um, you know, you had been just extended while there's a backlog of what's going on. So, not to get political, but you know, this I treat America now as my home, and I care what happens here, and I've got people that I care about who live here. And what this has done with all the immigration crisis and the people, from South America coming over, is that it's stalled people like me from freely, without any type of worry, being able to travel whilst they're a permanent resident here. So you can see where this is leading. I can't go home until I get issued some type of document that states my name, my identification number, and says that I'm free to travel from the US to Australia, and hopefully from Australia back to the US without having any issues with border security, immigration, or anything like that. Because I can't afford to go get a lawyer while I'm sitting in an airport stranded somewhere between here and fucking Australia to fight my way out of it. So it happens all the time. People would just get lost in the mix, you know. And I've got responsibilities. I've got a house. I've got a job. And it would be unfair on them. So my mother passed away, and I didn't know about it for 2 days. You know, by this stage, she would have been buried. Where I don't know. I really don't have family back there that are keeping me abreast of what's going on. I can't go back to attend a funeral, which has probably already happened. So as she's dying, you know, I'm sitting here waiting for a visa. And that's what pisses me off, because I haven't been able to do anything. And I can't scream and moan because of everything that's going on. And personally, they don't give a shit about me. They got my money. So all I wanted was my card. So now that's fucking gone. So I really don't have much reason to push for it anymore, apart from I don't want to be fucking thrown in Guantanamo fucking Bay and, you know, whatever. So with all that said and done, you know, as you might have seen on my social media, we had a, you know, my cat was sick. And, you know, this comes right hot on the heels of my mum dying and me being extremely pissed that I can't leave and blaming everyone for everything. And so I put all my time, effort, and resources into saving, you know, my cat. And, you know, he's now got cancer, and he's kind of like the only, I guess, attachment I have with anything that's now from Australia, from here, you know. So, you know, we went all in, and I would do it again. He's, you know, I spent a lot of time here, and he's been a great companion to both myself and my wife. So I don't, you know, I don't regret anything. You know, I got myself into this trouble. I'll get myself out. And I've had a lot of friends step up and, you know, rather kick a few dollars my way. You know, some of them, you know, I really didn't expect. I didn't want. I feel very awkward taking money from people, and you know, I didn't want to do a GoFundMe, and I didn't want to fucking beg on the internet. But I thought, well, look, at this point, everything musical had stopped. The CD album that I was supposed to have out in a few weeks pulled the plug on that. So I thought the only way, you know, I might be able to kick a few extra dollars is, you know, let's release some of the demos that I've got. So that's what I've been doing. Because all kind of creativity just, you know, fucking dries up when you're in that type of situation. So here we sit, you know, April Fool's Day. So it's almost a fucking joke, all right? So I sit here, and, you know, I've looking through the music that I've got. You know, I've written a few small things here and there, and I'm starting to reassess like what I do, what I want to do, how important it is to me, you know. And I have, like, I am a fucking overthinker. Like, I will sit there and I will look at the stuff that I've got, and if I want to release it, I will listen to it intently to try and pick out all the fucking the warts and all, which, you know, normally I wouldn't do. But during this, I have, really kind of gone overboard. The mental health has definitely overcompensated in some areas. So I have pulled out some errors, and I've looked at that and I've gone, well, this music would normally not have seen the light of day, so I want to go back and I want to revisit it, and hopefully what that will do will inspire me to, write something different. And here's normally, like, this has been my complaint since, um, I kind of started dealing with certain labels, and even with Fomorian, like, I run up against this, and you can pull Shred aside and you can ask him the same thing. Like, I am forever in this room. I'm writing and I'm recording and mixing and fucking doing it again and again and again. So I've got this abundance of material, which I think is, kind of growing old. And I mean, the person who, is listening to the music is not necessarily hearing it, so you don't know. But my dilemma is do I start from where I finished with the Ram It Up Your Ass CD and release the next thing after that, knowing that I've got 4 albums worth of material that's written, produced, mixed, fucking mastered. The only thing I haven't finalized for the last few is just artwork. And I sit and I wait for different people on Fomorian to, you know, for lack of a better term, like, get their shit together so I can get this out and move on, promote, and start the process. And that's sometimes like pulling teeth, because I'm used to working for me, with me, and only for fucking everything for me. I'm not thinking about others that are involved, and I've spoken a great deal to a lot of people within the scene, and given them my grievances and um, what's fucking me up and what I'm trying to do and why this type of stuff isn't necessarily a perfect situation for me, because I don't like to be labeled to be kind of put in this box, and it's like, you will have this date to go. Like, if I want something to be out there, like, I want to get it out there. Like, I don't care about time frames. And with the passing of family and things that I'm dealing with at the moment, like, I'm starting to look at, like, the mortality of what I've got. I'm not a 25-year-old guy, 50. My father died less than 20 years, what was he, in his 60s? So I'm not that far off him. So I'm starting to look at things like that, and I'm like, I don't want to die with fucking a dozen albums sitting on my computer. I don't want that. And so if there's an urgency that's in me that wants to put out some stuff, so I've come to this kind of this happy medium where Fomorian, will do the albums, and I want to have some control of releases in between. I don't want to throw out CDs and releases kind of hot on the heels of, um, an official bigger spent a shitload of time and money and effort on an album, and Fomorian will too, and only to have that be undercut by myself. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to overexpose my music or myself on things. I've kind of really cut back on a lot of stuff. So this is all the shit that spins around in my head on a daily basis. I think about it at work. I think about it sitting down eating dinner. I think about it watching TV, and it's something that I've really got to work with, because in the day and age of where we all sit now, you know, I've got the internet and I can release my own music and I can do all this stuff, but now I've got to wait for others who may not have, you know, rather the same work ethic or doesn't or don't have the time that I've got, you know, to put their stuff out so I can get to myself. So you can see I'm not someone that really likes having others involved. And, you know, there's a few things that I would do differently if I could rewind some time, you know. And the only thing that sucks about, you know, really, you know, everything is like you build up a lot of friendships, and obviously, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm pulling out of anything. I'm just saying this is what I'm internalizing every day, you know. So if I'm talking about some other band, you can almost make a bet that I've got something that, you know, there's more important to me cooking down here that I just want to get back to. You know, I don't necessarily care enough about, you know, other types of music that I'm not into, and that's a real fault of mine, you know, and um, you know, I think I know that enough. I know enough about me to know that I don't want to, you know, just lash out at people because, you know, I'm a selfish prick, and you know, I'm very self-centered, and so I understand that about me, and I don't fucking go with that. I just get out of the situation. So looking at the new album, which I've gone back and looked at many times, and with everything that's happened over the last few weeks, you know, I had to look at that CD, and I was speaking to Shredbeard, and I'm like, I don't know if this CD even, you know, talks for me anymore. Like the idea of I didn't come here to make friends was just a very, like, it had a snarl to it. It had like an anger to it that was not a self-righteous anger. It was a very greedy, very self-centered anger. It was a horrible person's view on how you deal with people, and with everyone kind of, and all the luck that I've had over the last few weeks, like it wasn't a fucking CD of made up human beings. It was me. It is me. And it didn't represent where my head was at recently. You know, not that I've made a big fucking life change, but I looked at it and I was like, I can't release something that I'm not 100% behind. So I changed a few things. There's a few songs in there which really kind of delve deep into how everything's just like a fucking rat on a wheel, just new issues, new problems, nothing changes. It's still the same shit. We're just booted into the ground and we're not supposed to get back up. All right. And I've felt like that since my fucking 20s. You know, you make a decision that you think's a good one, always ends up booting you in the ass because maybe I'm not smart enough to make fucking life choices. But you know, I've added a few songs that I kind of wrote recently to put on there that kind of expresses where I'm at, and that will be coming out, and I'm really proud of how it sounds, and I I want everyone to hear it. I just don't know when, you know. So in the meantime, I put out True Australian Black Metal, and a lot of you came to the party and bought it, like second pressing on cassette, nearly gone. CD run, went through that shit in like a fucking day. There's like 10 left or some shit. It's crazy, you know. So I want to continue doing the little things like that for myself, where I don't have to ask anyone about it. I just want to do that for myself because that's what's going to keep, you know, keep me on the fucking, you know, my sanity intact. So that's where I sit right now, and right here in front of you. I'm very frustrated with everything. I'm angry at a lot of things. It hasn't made me more accepting of fucking the world. It hasn't made me more patient. In fact, it's given me the opposite. I'm now looking at shutting a lot more out and really going, making sure that, if something like this happens again, I'm ready, more ready, for it, or I make better choices surrounding it. I do thank the people who did come to me in, private and, really dug deep and helped. And, I've spoken to majority of them, or I've, written them a note. But I think things like this, I think are healthy for me, because honestly, I don't talk to anyone. I don't fucking talk to anyone. It's something where I'm much happier without people around. And you can ask me, say, like, she wants people here all the time. And I'm like 10 minutes in, I just want you gone. I'm looking at my clock and I'm wondering when the fuck you're getting out. And that's just the personality, and, that she's been dealt with. I mean, it's, uh, I think I see an end of the road, and it feels very like I need to be more urgent with things. And I don't know where that comes from. Anyway.